Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Debbie from NDIS Property Australia, and you're listening to the SDA Housing Podcast, the show that explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. Today I have Josh and Rania from the office with me. Hi guys.
Hi Debbie.
Hi Debbie.
And today we are talking about a new report that we have in our reports selection that has been quite popular. It is a package report, package overview. This has come about because we had some people that approached us wanting advice on a package or a couple of packages that they were looking at that another agent or marketer was selling them. So we have devised this particular report, and it covers quite a lot about the package, the location, the details. So we thought we'd cover sort of really everything we go into and how we analyse that and how we pull together the information so that you can get a bit more background about understanding of what we do in the background with our research and analysis. Very much sort of a part of our fee-for-service offerings that we're doing a lot of work of these days. So firstly, Josh, can you tell us, I guess, the what the overall analysis and overview of the package entails?
Sure, absolutely. So I guess from start to finish, we sort of look at, first of all, the design of the property. So we look at, how many living spaces there are. Is there an outdoor space? How many garage spaces there are? How big the bedrooms are, just to tell people if we think that it's a good design. Obviously, as we know, having a good design SDA property is really important. So yeah, that's one of the first things we look at. We also like to look at the supply and demand. So, that's demand is such a big part of SDA. So we look at, the supply and demand behind it. And I guess we also go through, the pricing of the package, how expensive is the build price, price per square meter of the build, and compare that with other builders and projects in the location. We look at the returns and what the yield might be and how that stacks up. And then we'll also look at things like build time and the location. So is it near shops, doctors, hospitals, parks, amenities, which again, location is such a hugely important part of SDA.
Yep, great. So Rania, do you want to go into a little bit more detail maybe of how we rank properties? So even anything that comes to us from any of our builders or developers, we now have an internal ranking system because we do our due diligence on whether it's a good property, a good package, a good location, and whether we're confident to sell it to investors. So we've used that as kind of the basis for these reports. But do you want to tell us a bit more about that ranking?
Yep. So before we start creating any package report, we use our internal ranking system that covers we look at the location or just the rolling distance from places like medical centers, shopping centers, just shops in general, hospitals, public transport, your general amenities. We look at the dwelling design, number of participants' rooms, bathrooms, lounge rooms, outdoor spaces, and overall floor size, location, factor impacting on the SDA income, supply and demand data, provider data, and time to market. We use this, for example, I would look at Google Maps, just see how far all the shops, all the medical centers, all the parks, recreational centers, libraries are to this SDA property, and I give it an overall ranking. For example, if it is above 1,000 meter rolling distance, it would get a 1, because if this participant has mobility issues and they don't have someone to pick them up or drop them off at a certain place, it's going to be very difficult for them to get to the shops or to parks or just anywhere in general. So we take in this factor to allocate a certain ranking to the location, and we do that same process for the floor plan, the bedrooms. For example, if a floor plan has 2 lounge rooms, it gets a better ranking because both participants will have their own private area. But yeah, just basically taking in all those information.
Yeah, great. So tell us more about the inclusions of the design and how important that can be.
Yeah, so for example, with inclusions, we can look at fire sprinklers. For example, if it's a HPS design, it would be open to obviously HPS participants, IL participants, or FAA participants. For example, say you have a HPS participant, and I'm pretty sure majority of HPS participants have mobility issues. Say you do not have a fire sprinkler included in that home, and let's say a fire was to happen, it would cause a lot of difficulties for that participant to be able to evacuate. It's just a huge safety concern. And as well as that, and as well as a lot of SDA providers will not take on an SDA house that does not provide fire sprinklers, as it is a huge safety concern.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if you're the only provider or the only carer working in the house and you've got 2 participants who both need assistance to get out of their bed and into a wheelchair, and they need to get them out of there within 20, 30 seconds, it's not going to happen. So it's just common sense, really. We don't know where the NDIS is going in terms of mandating fire sprinklers in SDA properties, but from a common sense perspective, we think that they should all have them, particularly those properties that are designed for FA or HPS. So it just makes sense. Josh, what did you want to add anything to that?
I think, couldn't agree more on the fire sprinklers. I think it's becoming a necessity, and we're starting to see in areas in Perth as well that even councils and alike are starting to reject properties if they don't have fire sprinklers. But I also wanted to add that we also take into account if a property has an alfresco, just an outdoor living space. If someone, maybe it only has 1 living space, or even if it does have 2, having that outdoor space is obviously really beneficial as well.
Yeah, so, we have talked ad nauseum about future-proofing designs in previous episodes, and that we look at all of those features, and the more of these features that a property has, just a really good design, extra storage space, private outdoor alfresco areas for each participant's bedroom, all of these things are taken into account when we do that ranking. So once we've got all those different criteria ranked, we then go through and basically create a full analysis of each of those factors. And of course, we always say that the things that are going to make a successful property are the 3 Ds: design, desirability, and data. So we've touched on the design. The desirability, that a lot of that will come into the location and how close it is to amenities and other facilities, as we've already touched on. But the other thing is the data and the supply and demand. So whilst we do offer a supply and demand data report, which is a 5 or 6 page, very comprehensive report on the available NDI data as well as other intel that we have from all our connections in the industry. This report also has a pretty in-depth analysis of the supply and demand. So whilst it won't go into all the specific details that you would get in the supply and demand report, you'll probably still get basically the same analysis as you would. So it's really worthwhile if you are looking to buy a property in a particular area. You really need to know that demand is going to be there, not now, but when the property is actually completed. So if it's going to be 12 months or 18 months away before that property is ready for tenancy, you want to know that demand is still going to be there. So, we go into all of that information, which goes above a supply and demand, but also gives you confidence that the package that you're looking at purchasing is a viable option and is going to be the right design in the right place, and that you've got a good chance of getting tenants, not just 1 tenant, but 2 tenants, and you're going to have a good income from it. Was there anything I missed from that overview of anything else that we include in our report?
Something I did notice was that we do discuss as well the online listings as well that we found. So we'll go into places like Housing Hub and we'll look at how many listings there are for vacant properties in the area. And obviously that's a really good indication as to what the supply is like and what the supply is saying in areas. Is it empty? Now obviously that's a big red flag if we've got a lot of empty properties in that suburb or within a 5 kilometre radius. So that's another thing we also look at.
And also like Housing Hub has a lot of properties that are still under construction. Another good way to analyse the difference between what's under construction and what's actually available and enrolled is comparing it to the NDIS's own SDA Finder portal, which only lists properties that are enrolled. So, we look into all of that. We know how to filter those different tools to get the right information out. And I guess at the end of it, what we do is create a full pros and cons analysis of whether this is a good package. So, look, we sell packages. Obviously, we're known for that, but we don't care if you buy someone else. But if you want to get an independent, honest, transparent look at a property that you're looking at, come to us and engage us to undertake this report for you. And I think it is a good way of being sure that you're buying a decent property in a decent area and not going to end up with your $1 million mistake. So, Rania, anything else?
I think that's good for me. I think you covered everything.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Good. So, look, we're just excited about this new report and thought that we would share what goes into it. So how long would you say it takes us? Obviously, we've only done a few of these over in the last week, literally, but it's a fair bit of work involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe one of the first couple that we did, I believe they took us probably, 3 days?
First couple were quite urgent ones as well. So we got them done in 2 to 3 days, but we have improved since then. We've added a lot more categories that we can add into these reports. So I would say an estimate. It depends how many people are working on them as well. I would say it depends. I would say maybe 3 or 4 days.
Well, yeah, but we've also now got the template and we know what we're doing. So we're getting a lot better at it.
Yeah.
But look, it will give you a really good overview of that property. And, most people are not going to think about a lot of the criteria that we use for our own due diligence when assessing any package that comes to us. So, look, reach out to us if you have any properties that you're looking at potentially buying. And if you want to be sure, we can help you out. So please just drop us a line, info@ndis.property, or call our office on 1300 254 397. All right, I think that wraps it up. Well, thank you guys. See you next time.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening in. See you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.